took the pressure off the Russia investigation, the White House not denying it. And another report that the probe has reached a current senior White House official close to the president, a significant person of interest. Pleading guilty, Anthony Weiner breaks down as he admits sexting a minor, how much time he could face as Huma Abedin files for divorce. Cyber insurance as hackers strike a new way to lock in protection. Kill them all, what investigators say the Times Square driver told them about mowing down a crowd as shocking new video emerges. And the end of an era for the greatest show on earth. Nightly News begins right now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. In a week of fast and furious developments regarding the Russia investigation, we can add two more breaking as we come on this Friday night. There is word now that the law enforcement investigation is now looking at a current White House official as a person of interest in the case, the name not yet made public. That news coming late today as we separately found out President Trump expressed his relief to Russian diplomats over his firing of James Comey from the FBI, suggesting it had taken off some of the pressure he's experienced over Russia. More on both stories now, starting with national correspondent Peter Alexander.
During that Oval Office meeting with senior Russian officials last week, President Trump ripping into the FBI director he'd just fired, calling James Comey crazy, a real nut job, according to the New York Times that was read a document summarizing the meeting. Explaining the firing, Mr. Trump said, "I faced great pressure because of Russia. That's taken off," adding, "I'm not under investigation." The report less than an hour after the president boarded Air Force One, creating new domestic turbulence. The conversation reinforcing suspicions that Mr. Trump's decision to fire Comey was based on the FBI's inquiry into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, a point the president hinted at with Lester last week.
When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
The White House tonight not disputing the Times account. Press Secretary Sean Spicer in a statement arguing, by grandstanding and politicizing the investigation, Comey created unnecessary pressure on our ability to engage and negotiate with Russia. Mr. Trump has repeatedly denied any improper cooperation with Russia.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion.
On Wednesday, a smirking Vladimir Putin dismissing the White House meeting as political schizophrenia, even playfully chastising his foreign minister for not sharing the secrets he learned. For President Trump, the bombshell capping another whirlwind week of crises.
Probably the greatest concern that I have is that the White House doesn't seem to understand that loose lips sink ships. I think the president has got to learn that he can no longer have the impetuous behavior that he's had in the past, that he's got to taste his words before he spits them out.
Tonight, the White House says the Russia investigation would have always continued with or without James Comey. And again, they insist the real story here is that the country's national security has been undermined by the leaking of private and highly classified conversations. Lester?
Peter Alexander, thank you. And now to the other major headline we mentioned. Late word that the investigation into Russia's election meddling has now reached inside the West Wing to look at a current White House official as a person of interest, though the name hasn't been made public. We get more from NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams.
Government sources familiar with this latest development say the activities of a current White House official whose name was not revealed are now under investigation as the effort to examine Russia's meddling in the presidential campaign reaches a new stage. News first reported by the Washington Post.
That's important because there's been a lot of talk of former Trump associates or advisors, but now we're told that the investigation actually reaches into the White House.
Officials have already disclosed that subpoenas have been issued for information related to former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and one-time Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, looking at their financial activities and possible ties to Russia. But this is the first time, as far as is publicly known, that investigators have looked at a current White House official. Tonight in a statement, the White House says, quote, "As the president has stated before, a thorough investigation will confirm that there was no collusion between the campaign and any foreign entity." Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner have already acknowledged that they had contact with Russian officials. Today's disclosure comes as Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein spent the morning briefing House members on his role in the firing of FBI Director James Comey. Rosenstein said he decided months earlier that Comey should go and talked about it last winter with then-Senator Jeff Sessions during the Trump transition. All this comes just as Robert Mueller begins taking control of the Russia investigation as it reaches a more active phase, subpoenaing documents and interviewing witnesses. It's important to emphasize that just because investigators are looking at a person's activities, even issuing subpoenas, it doesn't mean a crime has been committed. And tonight, the Senate Intelligence Committee says James Comey has agreed to testify in open session after Memorial Day. Lester?
All right, Pete Williams in our Washington newsroom, thank you. As all this plays out here at home, President Trump is headed overseas, his first international trip since taking office. It's a critical 9-day journey to the Middle East and Europe. His first stop, Saudi Arabia. And our chief White House correspondent, Hallie Jackson, is there.
Followed thousands of miles by his most recent controversies, President Trump aiming to avoid more with diplomatic minefields ahead on every step of his international marathon. 5 countries, 9 days, no room for error.
This trip is ambitious to the point of being naive in terms of what he can accomplish tangibly. He will be greeted as the President of the United States, but that doesn't take him away from the drama at home.
The journey beginning in Saudi Arabia, where the president will call on the Arab world to unite against Islamic extremism.
On the campaign trail, once said that, again, quote, Islam hates us. And so, again, he is the last person on earth that should be lecturing Muslims about our own religion.
Stop 2, Israel, to reassure a crucial ally after the president shared sensitive information they gathered about a laptop bomb plot with the Russians. And in Bethlehem, where he'll meet with Mahmoud Abbas, plans to prod the Palestinians and Israelis on a path to peace. Then off to Rome for a face-to-face with Pope Francis that may see a wall get in the way. The Pope has criticized building walls as not Christian. Then, candidate Trump criticized the Pope.
For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
In Brussels, stop 4, a NATO summit, where leaders are reportedly prepping to keep their speeches short to hold the president's attention, looking for his commitment to the alliance. More questions come in Sicily at a major economic forum, with the president's promise to overturn unfair trade policies in the spotlight. Now, a critical test of his America First policy.
America First does not mean America alone.
A president under pressure to prove the leader of the free world really is. This is a president, remember, who enjoys routine, so a lot of folks will be watching to see how he handles this whirlwind week that is anything but routine. The White House working to frame this trip as historic, with aides hoping it provides a kind of reboot for the president. Lester?
Hallie Jackson in Saudi Arabia tonight. Thank you. Tonight, we're learning chilling new details about that horrifying crash in Times Square in New York with the driver who mowed down a crowd of people told investigators. It comes as new video has emerged of the car barreling down the sidewalk. We do want to warn you, the images are disturbing. NBC's Rahema Ellis has details.
It's stunning new video. Dramatic scenes from several surveillance cameras posted online. The image is so horrifying, it's difficult to watch. It all happened after the driver made a sharp right turn, accelerated, and then barreled down a crowded sidewalk in Times Square. 20 pedestrians hit, mowed down, and tossed into the air. The driver stopped only after he crashed into a metal post. 18-year-old Alyssa Ellsman from Michigan was killed. Her 13-year-old sister hospitalized. Survivors still in disbelief over what happened.
Thank God I'm alive.
I'm still traumatized.
Today, the driver and Navy veteran 26-year-old Richard Rojas was arraigned and charged with murder, attempted murder, and aggravated vehicular homicide. Authorities say he has a past criminal record. He was arrested just last week for pulling a knife on someone. Questions tonight about why he wasn't still behind bars.
I know he pled guilty. I know he was released, but we'll have to look in. It was in the Bronx, so we'll have to take a look at that.
According to prosecutors, Rojas said at the time of yesterday's arrest, he had smoked marijuana laced with PCP and said, "I want to kill them," adding, officers should have shot him to stop him.
Why'd you do it?
Tonight, police say there is no evidence that he was connected to any terrorist organizations, but they are still searching for a motive to this horrible crime. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner broke down in court today as he pleaded guilty to exchanging sexually explicit messages with a 15-year-old girl. And a short time later, we learned his estranged wife, Huma Abedin, has filed for divorce. NBC's Kristen Dahlgren tells us how much time Weiner could face behind bars.
One-time Congressman Anthony Weiner will soon have a new title, registered sex offender. The disgraced politician pleading guilty in federal court to transmitting obscene material to a minor, admitting to sending racy texts to a 15-year-old last year, including one photo with his own child right next to him. Weiner breaking down as he read a prepared statement describing destructive impulses. Quote, "I have a sickness, but I do not have an excuse." Weiner is married to top Hillary Clinton aide Huma Abedin. It was the investigation into Weiner that threw the presidential campaign into turmoil when James Comey revealed Clinton emails discovered on Weiner's laptop.
I'm here today to again apologize.
In 2011, Weiner resigned from Congress in disgrace over his first sexting scandal.
Today, I am announcing my resignation from Congress.
This is why I'm in the race.
In 2013, he ran for mayor of New York until he was caught sexting again.
It's like having a nightmare.
Their drama captured in a documentary.
Are you okay?
Today, Abedin officially filed for divorce, seeking full custody of their 5-year-old son. It's still unclear how Weiner's status as a sex offender could impact a custody battle, and he may have to be off probation before he's able to visit his child's school. The government seeking between 21 and 27 months in prison.
A defendant doesn't plea because they don't want a messy trial. They plea because they think it's better for them, that they'll get less time in jail.
Weiner will be sentenced in September. And one more blow in his stunning fall from grace, the serial sexter forced to surrender his smartphone. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, New York.
Millions tonight are under a severe weather threat from Texas up through Ohio. In northern Tennessee, widespread flooding trapped 3 school buses and 17 students had to be rescued. A different extreme in the Rockies where spring snowstorms have brought up to 42 inches to some areas. But in the Northeast, the opposite. Scorching temperatures in New York and Boston where they're experiencing some of their earliest heat waves on record. After 7 years, Sweden has now dropped its rape investigation against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. The case had led Assange to seek asylum inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London in 2012, and he's been there ever since. But despite today's announcement, Assange remains a wanted man. NBC's Bill Neely explains.
Julian Assange emerged pale but defiant from the embassy where he spent years evading justice.
7 years without charge, why my children grew up without me. That is not something that I can forgive.
But today, he said, was a victory. Sweden's prosecutor dropping rape allegations he denies. The 7-year standoff with Sweden may be over, but Assange isn't leaving here just yet. Although British police want him, it's the American justice system that stands between him and freedom.
The proper war is just commencing.
And war was at the heart of what Assange did. The WikiLeaks founder published videos and hundreds of thousands of secret US files about the Iraq War. Intelligence agencies and lawmakers are still furious.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions determined he should face trial.
Yes, it is a priority.
But first, Britain has to extradite him.
I would imagine that the U.S. would like to get him on a plane, shackled to U.S. Marshals, as quickly as possible.
But this could take some time.
That would depend upon British process.
Tonight, he's back inside Ecuador's embassy, a long way from freedom or justice. Bill Neely, NBC News, London.
And we'll take a break here. Still ahead, cyber insurance, the growing trend that can help you recover after hackers steal your personal info. Why you may already have it and not even know it. Also, if you own a drone or you're thinking about getting one, we'll tell you about the major decision today that will impact you.
Buying a new grill from a big warehouse is like trying to start your old grill. You can end up standing around by yourself and nothing happens. Not at Ace. We've got an exclusive lineup of premium brands, plus something that's hard to find these days: premium service from local experts like